Welcome to episode 137 of the Family Answer Man podcast. Today we're talking about managing the blended family when children aren't cooperating from a biblical worldview here on the Family Answer Man podcast. I'm your host, David Orgis, and I'm here with Dr. Mark Crosby. He is a pastor, educator, mental health professional, and the resident expert here on the Family Answer Man. Now, Family Answer Man is not a therapy session. We're not able to give specific advice to you, but we do believe that mental and spiritual health are very important issues. So we're going to encourage you to seek professional counsel for your unique circumstances. But we do hope that this episode of the Family Answer Man, as always, will help you build a stronger, healthier, happier family. Well, Dr. Mark, good to be here with you today.
Yes.
Big topic, talking about not just blended families, but talking about blended families when the children aren't cooperating. Do you find that that's typically the case, that children have a hard time adjusting when they're blended families?
Yes. And because of that, again, the romance between mom and dad, the husband, new wife, whatever, is wonderful, and they love each other. But we sometimes forget that we are marrying not just our spouse when this happens, but we're marrying also their children, so to speak. In other words, the children come with mom, the children come with dad. And, you know, we like to think, we want to think it's going to be the proverbial Brady Bunch. You know, everybody's going to get along and everybody's going to, be, very hospitable and, engaging, and great connections form and all these things. And we hope for that, we pray for that, we long for that, we desire that. But in many cases, I would say maybe in most cases, it doesn't happen, at least not initially. It takes some time. And so lots of patience has to be generated in the very beginning. Lots of forgiveness has to be generated in the beginning, because everybody's trying to declare and to decide and to determine where they fit in. What role they're going to play. Where does my loyalty lie? Do I really like this new person? Does this person really like me? What do I call them? What kind of authority do they have over me? How many times has someone who's listening, who's in a blended family, heard someone say, "You're not my dad. You're not my dad. You're not my mom. You're not my mom." That creates division. That creates a sense of disconnect. And so what begins to happen is, how do I manage that? And you love your spouse, you love your wife, you love your husband, your new wife, your new husband, whatever you want to put it. But now there's these children who disrespect you. There's these children who maybe don't love you. There are these children who want to maybe even sabotage what you have. And I've seen that, and many who are listening maybe have seen that before. So there are a lot of challenges here, and there are a lot of mountains to climb and overcome, so to speak. But I think if it's done well and done right, it can happen. Again, depending on the age and stage of life of the children. If they're small children, under, say, the age of 6, that's one, scenario. But if they're teenagers, 12, 13, 14, 15, they're starting to have their own independence, wanting to live their own life. They will start manipulating the situation. There's some concerns as to, okay, which parent is going to make me the better offer? If this parent,
little negotiators.
They basically look at which parent do I get to stay out the latest? Which parent's going to offer me the car? Which parent's going to have the fewest rules? Which parent's going to give me the least consequence? Which parent is going to support, my new whatever, hairstyle, my tattoo, my ring through my nose? I mean, which parent's going to allow that? Which parent isn't? And so there's just a lot of factors and variables, depending on the age and stage of the child, also depending upon the maturity level of the parent.
Wow.
And depending on where they are in their life and what's going on in their life, what kind of support they have in their life, what kind of security they have in their life. Meaning, am I secure in my job? Am I secure in my faith? Am I secure in my position? Am I secure in my personal philosophical view of what's happening here? Am I a jealous person? There's that. And so there's just so many variables that take place here that we have to be mindful of.
Yeah, it's a lot of different factors. And you can definitely see how, like you said, if you don't handle this well,
right,
it can be problematic for sure. So that leads us to our question for today. And if you have a question that you want to have answered, we love hearing these, love being able to respond to them. You can email us. It's familyanswerman@liveoak.church, familyanswerman@liveoak.church is that email address. And the question comes in, says this, and a nice little encouragement. It says, I love your podcast, and I found so much value in the advice that you give. So thank you for that. We love to do this. But this is somebody that's reaching out, says, because I could really use some guidance on step parenting. The mom, I'm going to sum up the question. The mom has a daughter from a previous marriage who's primarily in the home. The husband has a daughter from a previous relationship which primarily lives with her mother outside the home. The husband and his daughter have a great relationship, but the stepmom is struggling to build a relationship with her stepdaughter. The stepdaughter has a very different set of values and does not have necessarily a biblical worldview. And the two girls that are 12 and 13 are experiencing a lot of conflict between each other. How can the stepmom better connect with her daughter, help guide her socially, and help her develop some better manners despite being limited in the time that they have with her?
So first of all, let's just begin with something that I think we all can agree on. Family life is a challenge.
There you go. Family life is a challenge. Write that down if you're surprised.
It's one of the greatest joys you'll ever have, one of the greatest blessings you'll ever know. The truth is, it's still a challenge.
No matter what.
Because things are constantly changing. A family life is constantly changing. I mean, your kids are getting older. They're learning to walk. They're learning to talk. They're learning to be independent. They're learning to do things. They're learning to discover how the toilet flushes. Okay, they're learning to discover
and what not to flush down it.
Exactly. And so there's just so many things. And then they start riding the bus to school, and everybody knows that riding the bus is an education unto itself. You learn things on the bus that you normally wouldn't learn anywhere else. So there's that issue. And they come home, they start asking mom and dad all kind of questions about things they learned on the bus
that you weren't ready to answer yet.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's that. And then they start noticing boys or noticing girls, and they start wanting to be in certain organizations, which is fine. They want to fit into certain areas. Maybe in some cases they like going to church, some cases they don't like going to church. And so there's that factor. And so family life, even in its best case scenario, is challenging, and it's constantly changing. Again, there's adolescence, and again, what happens is sometimes as parents, we have expectations for our kids. We expected them to play sports, but they want to go into band, or vice versa. And then there's that issue. I just wanted my son to play basketball, but he wants to play football. And so there's those conflicts, if you will, that are constantly we're dealing with. Or your 14-year-old girl is starting to get calls from 17-year-old boys. Okay, and there's that factor, and so there's just so many things that parents are having to face each and every day, not to mention their own relationship, not to mention their own jobs, their own careers, their own health, and maybe in some cases they have aging parents.
Yeah.
And so a lot of parents, a lot of families have aging parents on one side and, adolescents, puberty-driven, teenagers on the other side, and they're trying to manage everything in between. The point is, family life is a challenge. Family life is constantly changing. And family life will also have, as we said a while ago, many different experiences and personalities. You may be the outgoing mom, but have a very shy daughter. You may be the athletic dad, but have a son who is not as athletic or interested in sports. So parenting and family life often will have many expectations. And sometimes if those expectations aren't fulfilled, if they're not understood, then we feel like a failure. I mean, how many son has said, I wanted to play the clarinet, but my dad wanted to be the star quarterback, and I'm just not the star quarterback, but I love playing the clarinet. But I feel like I've let my dad down.
Right. And the dad feels like probably he had expectations that he let his son down, or, or his expectations weren't fulfilled. And expectations can be dangerous.
Exactly. And not to mention that family life sometimes has generational challenges, meaning, if there's some sort of addiction in the family, if there's some sort of alcoholism, if there's some sort of, drug addiction, if the oldest, child has a problem with drugs or some sort of substance abuse, they all of a sudden get all the attention and all the emphasis and all the money's poured on them. But the second son, who's a straight A student, and the all-star athlete, no one comes to their games. No one, acknowledges, their straight A's, because the addict son is getting all the time, attention, and money. So there's these generational challenges that we have to experience. And then all this becomes complicated, and this is where we're going. All this becomes more complicated when a family dissolves and then reattaches somewhere else. So all of this is still in play. And then all of a sudden, if that family dissolves and then it reattaches somewhere else, now a whole new list of problems, and this is where this question comes from, begins to occur. Here's something that I hope the pastors out there will hear, and that is this. Presently, 45% of all families are blended families.
45%.
45% of all families are blended families.
Wow.
And so, the traditional, forever, nuclear, leave it to beaver family, Huxtable family, depending on what generation you come from, is rarely there. Or it's there, but it's not it's slowly becoming the minority. So presently, 45% of all families are blended families. And so with these blended families come some real challenges.
Right, and challenges that you can't just overlook because it's not maybe the ideal, it's not but it's reality.
It's still
and
there.
People need help.
Right, and it's still impacting mom and dad. It's still impacting the siblings. It's impacting, the other set of parents, if you will. So there's just a lot coming in with the blended family. So one of the major challenges is the step-parent, step-child relationship. And again, here are some of the issues of the step-parent, step-child relationship. So if you're just tuning in, we're talking about, how do you manage a blended family? How do you deal with a blended family? What are some of the concerns of a blended family? And how do you overcome some of these challenges? So here are some of the issues of a step-parent, step-child relationship. Number one is loyalty. If I really like you, if you're my stepdad, if you're my stepmom, and I really like you, and you're really a good person, and you really, show me, love and attention, and you really want to be involved in my life, and you're just a good person, and all of these things, and I start to respond to that, and I start, talking about how good you are and how wonderful you are. The question now becomes either inwardly or from the other parent, loyalty.
Yeah.
Why do you keep talking about your stepmom? Why do you keep talking about your stepmom? I do that for you too. I do that for you too. And now the child is starting to feel split.
Right.
Now the child is starting to feel like, well, am I hurting my mom because I talk about how good my stepmom is? Am I hurting my dad when I start talking about how good my stepdad is? And now there's this sense of loyalty. Where does my loyalty lie? And maybe I need to pull back. Maybe I need to be unkind to my stepmom, even though she's good to me. Maybe I need to be unkind to my stepdad, even though he's being good to me. Because my dad, my mom, they feel a sense of, again, disrespect.
Right. And ideally, you would have a situation where, stepchild says, wow, I have an amazing stepmom, but mom, I love you so much and you can never be replaced.
Right.
But most kids and adolescents don't have that ability to have that thought process and or the vocabulary even to say
right,
that.
Because I'll argue in 90% of all divorce cases, there is now the ongoing competition.
Right.
Who's the better parent?
Yeah.
Who's better? Who's worse? I have more. I offer more. I do more. And we're about to get into this in a few moments. And then there's also, why does he get to be a Disneyland dad and I have to be the disciplinarian? So you have disciplinarian versus Disneyland. And so now there's that competition that plays as well. So loyalty is an issue. Respect is an issue. As we said before, so many times we've heard someone say, "You're not my dad. You're not my dad. You're not my mom." Well, there's the respect issue because they are the parent.
Right.
They are the adult. They are, your mom or your dad's spouse. And so, you respect your teachers, you respect the police officer, you respect the pastor, you respect, hopefully, you respect, you respect, other people in authority. Well, this person is in authority, but there's a part of you that feels like, no, maybe we're equals, and I don't have to respect him or her. There's that issue. Then, of course, there's the issue of discipline. Sometimes, as we said before, Disneyland dad who says, I only got, 2 days, a month with my kid, and I can't discipline them. So they put all the discipline on the step-parent, and then the step-parent becomes, the evil stepmother or the evil stepfather. Another issue, another concern in the step-parent relationship is connection. Do we ever connect? Do we ever feel a connection? Do they really love me? Next, as you said before, authority. Do they have authority over me? And consequences. What kind of consequences? So if a 12-year-old, says all kind of unkind, nasty things to the step-parent, who is the adult, is there any consequences for that? And if not, why not? And if so, what are they? And if so, who implements them?
And can they be enforced, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So there's just, all sorts of issues here that we need to unpack. So here's some things to note. So this is now getting into the question that was asked about what can I do as a stepmom with a stepdaughter who we obviously have different values, different beliefs, different roles, whatever. Beware of beginning the relationship with rules and punishment.
Okay.
Beware of beginning the relationship with rules and punishment. So if you come in and all of a sudden you're coming across as the drill instructor, for the Marines, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and 6 a.m. and 0500, this is going to happen, and your bed better be made up, and the trash better be taken out, or there's no breakfast. If you start out like that, they're not going to see you as a parental figure. They're going to see you only as, we said in other episodes, the warden, the boss, the drill instructor, and they're going to push back. Especially if they go home and say to their mom or to their dad, during their week, she just was so mean. She just made us get up at 6 o'clock and she told us we had to make our bed. And honey, you don't have to listen to her. That's not your mama. You don't have to listen to her. And now it's on. So beware of beginning the relationship with rules and punishment. Number 2, ask yourself, again, do you want to be a warden or do you want to be a coach?
A warden or a coach?
The difference is great. They both, again, have, this area of authority, but they're different. Again, a coach will say, here's the game plan. Here's what I'd like for us to accomplish. Here's what I'd like for us to do. Here's what I'll help you to understand. Here is what I can help you to figure out. Here's how I can make it better. A coach wants the athlete to be a better athlete.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas a warden just wants the prisoner, if you will, to comply to the rules.
And some people probably had bad coaches that acted more like wardens. Sure. But a good coach is somebody that breaks things down. They explain things. They show you why. They help you understand. And they connect with you.
Well, exactly. And it goes back to what we said before, external control versus internal control. Again, external control means you better do what I say or I'm punishing you. Internal control creates a relationship to where a person wants to do well and perform well for the person that is the authority. And there's a vast difference. And so again, if discipline is required or if consequences are required, this is the second point, the bio-parent, the biological parent should implement the discipline.
Okay.
So in other words, the step parent should not be implementing the discipline. The biological parent should be doing that. Now, the pushback is going to always be, but I only got them for 3 or 4 days out of the month, and I don't want to spend all my time. No, they still need your discipline because you are still the parent.
Right. Yeah.
And if they mess up, you as a parent needs to let them know what the consequences are, review the film so they don't mess up again, create a sense of consequence, whatever that may look like or be like, and then implement that. Because if not, they begin, meaning the stepchild or the child begins to pull down the power. Whenever a child comes in and pulls down the power in the home, it's like, again, the prisoner taking over the prison, okay, so to speak. So, this is not a good place to be when the child comes in and takes over the home. So the bio parent should implement the discipline. Next, the bio parent should create the boundaries. The bio parent should create when is bedtime? What are the curfews? What is the routine for the home after school? What's the child's responsibilities? Even if the child comes in every other weekend, there should be certain things this child needs to do. Hey, help us. We're going to cut grass this morning, so I want you to weed eat, and I want to whatever. Well, I just want to play my video games. I just want to play my video games. I know you want to play video games, but we have some things to do. We want you to join us. So there's that. So again, responsibilities, but they need to be done by the bio parent, not by the step parent, but the bio parent. Bio parent basically creates the environment. And the reasons for that is because, again, if the bio parent is not careful, they will carry all this guilt. And as I said before, they don't want to be the hard-nosed person, so to speak. Right. But again, they need to create the environment. Because if not, what's going to happen is the step parent will be the fall person. And subconsciously, the step parent will take all the blame for the poor environment in the home. So again, the bio parent needs to set the pace, create the environment, and make sure things happen. What does that look like? The importance of having family time. So in other words, in this case, you got, mom, dad, and you got two daughters, dad's daughter, mom's daughter, blended family. It's important to carve out some time, for the entire family. Hey, we're all going to go boating. We're all going to take, go on a picnic. We're all going to go hiking, wherever. We're all going to go, to the beach. We're all going to go out to eat. And you carve out some family time. And as you're carving out this family time, this may be a good time for, stepmom and stepdaughter to maybe sit by each other, maybe on the drive. This may be a good time if it's game night or whatever. Hey, look, how about stepmom, stepdaughter be on one team, dad and stepdaughter be on the stepdad and stepdaughter be on the other team, and we'll kind of have some team building, if you will.
Yeah.
So there's little things like that can be done. But also the bio parent needs to carve out some time alone with their child.
With their biological child.
Exactly. So carve out some time alone. Dad, take your daughter, to get, some ice cream. Mom, take your daughter shopping. Carve out some time, but then flip it. Let the step parent carve out some alone time with their stepchild. And you may have to entice them, she doesn't want to go shopping, but mom, if you say, well, I tell you what, we're going to go to such and such store, and I'm going to let you pick out anything on this shelf or anything in this department or whatever it may be, and we're going to do our best to get it for you, or whatever that may look like. I'll take it to your favorite restaurant. Hey, you can bring your friend with you even. And sometimes, that's okay too. But anything that kind of gets the ball rolling to where it's you and them, and you're working some things out, you're getting into their world.
You're intentionally creating connection with them.
Stepmom, go to that stepdaughter's piano recital. Stepdad, go to that stepson's ball game. Whatever that may be. Try to figure out what they enjoy. Buy them, a book about whatever. If your kid's into, martial arts and whatever, buy a book on Bruce Lee or whatever. Let them know, hey, this is kind of cool. I think you would like this. Or I came across this and I was thinking about you. The point is this. It is not impossible, but it is difficult to be unkind to someone who's been kind to you. Okay? It's not impossible, but it is difficult to be unkind to someone who's being kind to you. So in other words, get into their world, whatever that may look like. If you want to sit down on the floor with, some sort of control in your hand and play, some techno game, then do that too. That's okay.
Yeah.
You may not be very good at it, if they love playing Madden football or whatever, and you may not know how to do that, just get in and let them beat you 49-0, okay? Or 40-22.
It'll be like the Super Bowl.
Well, let them beat you 40-22. But the point is, they get into their world. With this, and here's where we're going. This creates attachment. This creates attachment, this creates emotional bonding, and that is crucial. As you get into their world, whether it be sports, video games, music, cars, bowling, whatever that may be, here are some principles to remember. Again, change isn't easy, and everybody's going through this change. Change isn't easy. Relationships, number 2, take time to develop. So again, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about how to manage blended families, especially when the kids aren't, interested, or they're being challenging, or they're pushing back. Relationships take time to develop.
Yeah.
So again, in the first few weeks or months, don't expect this to, again, become the Brady Bunch.
Right. And you've spent a lot of time in the relationship with the new spouse and developing that relationship.
Right.
And you probably have spent some time with the kids as well, but it's not going to be to the same level.
Right.
And so it's going to seem inharmonious.
Exactly. Another point is this, and keep this in mind, as the stepmom or as the stepdad, what you give, you also get. What you give, you also get. It's the law of sowing and reaping. Again, continue to give love, continue to give patience, continue to give grace, continue to give forgiveness, continue to keep trying. It's not going to be easy. They're going to push back because, again, they're kids and they're worried about their loyalty. They're worried about, where they fit in. They're worried about who you are. They're worried about how long is this going to last. They're worried about, will things ever. So, but again, what you give is you also get. Also, it's okay to let them rant, and tell your stepdaughter, you can say anything you want, rant, as long as you're not saying anything that's going to be destructive or grossly disrespectful. You can rant. I'll listen to you. I'm not going to get into an argument with you. I'm not going to outshout you, but I will listen to you, because everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants to be heard. Maintain an open dialogue. Again, this is important, to do. Maintain some kind of open dialogue. If they're interested in music or, chess or whatever it may be, maintain an open dialogue about what it is that they're interested in. Again, listen to them, hear them, validate their experiences. They may say, I hate it over here. I just hate it over here. Y'all are just so strict. I hate it over here. And validate that experience. And maybe even ask, what would it look like if things were a little bit better for you? What would change for you if things were to be better for you over here? Well, if I could just stay up until 11 on Friday, that'd be okay. You talk it over. You get involved. You figure out if this is a possibility. The point is, you don't disregard their feelings. You don't disregard their feelings. Agree that you're to be respected, however. Again, have these talks, have these conversations. Simply say, look, I will not disregard your feelings, but in the return, I need you to respect who I am. I may not be your mom. I may not be your dad. I get it. I understand. But I am an adult, and I do try to make life better for you, and I do deserve respect. Next, let them have a voice or a say in some decisions. For example, if they're just coming in, from their mom's house to dad's house, you might want to say to them, hey, look, we're going out to eat tonight. Where do you want to go? Now, we were thinking about going here, but where do you want to go? Well, I'd rather go over there. Okay, we can do that.
Right.
Let's do that. So again, maybe even bigger decisions like where we're going on vacation. You say, we're thinking about going to the mountains. What do you want to do? I'd rather go to the beach. Okay, we can consider that. So again, this is very, very important.
And that's not letting them control the family, because I know somebody's already pushing back against that, but it is helping them feel like they are still a valued part of the family.
Exactly, and that they do have a voice and they do have a decision, especially if a decision hasn't been made. Now, if you already got reservations and all that, that's one thing. But if the decision hasn't been made yet, real quickly, beware and be patient when they come to your home after being with the other parent. It's going to take the child at least 12 to 24 hours to kind of readjust. So if they come into your house a little cranky, a little whatever, be patient. It takes a while to adjust. Try to have some quality time, but don't force it, but keep the invitation open. Again, we've said that before. Try to have a point of connection, sports, food, music. If you can schedule events so they will know when, let them know, here's what we plan on doing. Know that resistance is natural. It's going to be a natural process, but don't let them see your disappointment. If they're pushing back, don't carry the disappointment on your shoulder. Don't let them believe that you think they're a nuisance. A lot of kids come home to their parents' house, their dad's house, mom's house, thinking they're a nuisance, that my stepmom doesn't like me. Beware of your expectation box. Don't expect them to be, like the Brady Bunch kids. Never let them see you sweat. And also this, try to evolve a nickname or a fun name for you. Calling you Miss So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so is like living with your school teacher.
That's so weird.
But if they can have a fun name for you,
Right.
I think that's important.
And not forcing them to immediately jump into calling you mom or dad.
Oh, no,
Right.
no, absolutely not. Because that's going to create problems in other areas. And one last thing, I know we're out of time. See them as bonus children more than stepchildren.
Yes.
I think saying the word bonus really does create a greater sense of connection as step sees them as someone that you're disconnected from. Do these things and see if it doesn't make a difference in your family.
Well, there you have it from the Family Answer Man. Thank you for joining us again. Hope that this episode of the Family Answer Man will lead you to make changes that have a stronger, healthier, and happier family.